Bob Baer's memoir of his time as a CIA officer in the Middle East was turned into a hit movie, Syriana, a thriller with a fictionalized version of him as the main character. His new book, The Devil We Know, might not bring Hollywood agents knocking at his door for movie rights, but it is, in its own way, a kind of thriller, weaving intrigue and policy prescriptions into a new look at the most demonized nation in the Middle East. And with its subtitle, Dealing with the New Iranian Superpower, it is likely to stir controversy. Baer's basic premise is that Iran has greatly changed from a theocracy of true believers into a kind of military state bent on expanding power in the region and dominated by veterans of the bloody 8-year war with Iraq. That, Baer argues, makes Iran more dangerous in some ways, but also makes them more rational.
And they were virtually at war with the United States, killing Americans. But that's as far as the dialogue goes in this country. What we're not watching is that they've backed away from terrorism, have become much more of a conventional power, as threatening, probably more threatening, but they're somebody we can deal with.
Baer argues that the 2006 war in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah, which is an Iranian surrogate, was the turning point for Iranian strategists.
It came during the 34-day war in Lebanon in 2006, when everybody expected, the insiders did, that the Iranians and Hezbollah would start taking Western hostages again, simply to pressure the United States, and it didn't happen. Hezbollah and Iran went to their cadres and said, do not touch an American. And during that 34-day war, not an American was touched, period. I mean, that was a huge enlightening moment for me. That said, aha, they're out of the terrorism business, and so what business are they in? And that's conventional power.
Baer also believes that Iran is not bent on getting a nuclear weapon. He says the Iranian leadership's nuclear ambitions are really a bargaining chip for other things, like influence in Iraq, control of the Persian Gulf, and, above all, a desire to control the Muslim holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I think their nuclear weapons is a red herring on so many levels. I think they're going through the motions of building a bomb, and they may build a bomb one day simply to get our attention. They want us to acknowledge their newfound power, while their real power is more conventional.
Former National Security Council staffer Gary Sick, a leading U.S. academic expert on Iran, agrees that Iran is really looking to bargain from a position of strength.
I personally think that the bargaining chip of a nuclear program where they can turn it on and turn it off, rather than actually having a bomb that would become a target, is probably what they're after.
Bob Baer points out that the Western focus on Iran's controversial president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and his sometimes outrageous statements misses the point that he lacks real executive authority. Despite Mr. Ahmadinejad's threats, Baer is skeptical that Iran would attack Israel, since such an operation would be the ultimate suicide bombing.
I think they're too rational. I think that the Israelis would retaliate. They would destroy Tehran. They would flatten Tehran, and the Iranians know that, and they're not suicidal. And this goes against conventional thinking. They are not suicidal. They do not think if they attacked Israel that when Israel attacked them, they'd all go to heaven. That's just not the way they think. That's the way many Sunni extremists think, but not the Iranians.
But Baer says the next U.S. administration should worry about Israel's impatience over the nuclear issue, enough to send a special envoy to begin talking to the Iranians.
They better have somebody in Tehran on the 21st of January, because the Israelis are saying, listen, if you don't do something to contain Iranian power, or at least bring them to the negotiating table, we are going to hit Iran. And I think the Israelis are serious, or they're serious enough we should worry about it.
There is apparently intense interest in Iran about who the next U.S. president will be. News accounts say Iranians are paying close attention to the U.S. presidential campaign, with considerable coverage in the Iranian media. Iran has its own presidential election in June. Gary Thomas, VOA News, Washington.